3, 2.
I got everybody pregnant with Barry Katz and semen.
I'm not comfortable with the tone this is taking.
If you're undeniable, you will not be denied.
If you want to be successful in show business, you get yourself a Jew white manager like Barry Katz.
Being a manager is just turning no's into yeses.
Creating holy shit moments. Undeniable.
You're fucking firing me up, Katz.
I love this man.
Is there anything else I should know?
You're on. What? Now I'm on the air. Barry Katz back in the house. Let's do this.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is very exciting. Long time coming. I have so much respect for this man. Huggable, lovable, and premises and punchlines that are just always extraordinary. Please welcome my guest today, Roy Wood Jr.
Hello. It's very kind of you. Lovable and huggable. I'll take that.
Oh my God, it's the key to almost everything. I mean, if you look at all the most successful comedians in the world, like probably 97% are huggable and lovable, and there's maybe 3, maybe 5%.
Or they can sell lovable, huggable.
Nice.
There's a couple of assholes. But they're funny, and they know how to be lovable and huggable. There's a comedian I won't name. Works clean. Love him. Very, very, very sharp comic. So sharp. And I never thought about doing this backstage. So sharp that he will not even allow himself to be seen having a drink, even if it's just wine. Won't ask for wine. But when they offer wine, will say, I don't drink, but my manager here wants some wine. And then the fucking manager gets the wine. And then as soon as the stage manager, whoever gets the fuck out the green room, he fucking chugs it. Just has a little sip. I respect that. Not an asshole, this comic, but just the idea of the image you craft forward facing versus other facets of yourself. You put up a wall because you don't want everyone to know everything. I wish I'd have played the game like that.
I think you're playing the game pretty well. So let's just talk about this for a second.
I'm too nice, bro. I gotta get in my asshole face. People take advantage of niceness.
Well, let's just talk about the asshole thing, because I always think to myself how you have to be with people. Firstly, what's fascinating about you is the instinct that I have about you, that not only are you not an asshole, but I truly feel that the people in your circles and that you go to the comedy clubs or the theaters or if you hang with other comics, I truly believe no one is ever an asshole to you. Am I wrong?
That's pretty accurate.
So what you create, what is this thing that you create? Because if you create the no asshole policy, then people have the no asshole policy when it comes to you, even if they are assholes.
Yeah, the one comedian that I can feel like did anything to like really like piss me off, like that was over a woman, which is different. That's just man shit. Like that could have happened if I worked at Applebee's. Like it wouldn't have changed the dynamic between he and I. But it's generally love. It's generally love. You know what I've become in a weird way? I've become the comedian sometimes where other comedians will come and hang out at my show, even if they're not on the show, just because it's good vibes. Which, fine. Like, I'm not mad at it, but it's like, you'll look around a green room and go, when the fuck did this start?
Well, when did it start?
I'll tell you when I noticed it was Atlanta when I taped my first stand-up special. In 2017, I taped my first ever hour special. And because Atlanta, when I started in Birmingham. So, I was a Southern guy. I was a road dog for like the first 9-10 years of my shit. Atlanta was bread and butter. Atlanta, Nashville, Memphis to a degree if we're talking the immediate Southeast. But pretty much Orlando to Louisville was where I comedically worked for a decade. A little bit of Ohio. Atlanta was like ground zero for a lot of my career. So a fucking ton of Atlanta comedians were backstage at that taping. Just hanging, just showing love, just on some community shit.
They were showing love, but they were doing something else. They were learning from one of the best.
Well, thank you, Barry. They was for sure drinking up all the liquor that I had supplied.
Maybe that guy was there and his manager.
But yeah, that's probably the first time I noticed it. And so now it's not anything I really even trip on. Like, unless it's a set where I legit need to focus and figure shit out, I don't care if you're back here chilling, for as long as you're not in the way. And
let's keep going with that for a second, because you've obviously hosted television shows. You've done a lot of work with different executives, and even when you film your own special, and what always happens, I find, no matter how much you vet people, no matter what you do, there's always somebody on the set that the hair on the back of your neck stands up when they talk to you, when they take action on something. How do you address things like that when most of the whole group of people are wonderful, but there's that one person who's highly talented at what they do, but they just don't have the navigational skills and the toolbox to be able to deal with people appropriately?
It's hard. I was just speaking with someone with Jonah Hill's production company, because, you know, shout out to Dines, and like, you know, that's Jonah's, you know, right hand. He earned it, you know, his rights in the industry and his skill set. But the idea of like, he came up around it enough to understand the protocols where, you know, sometimes I'm dealing with people who, you know, I like and I love and you're good, but you don't quite know how to move in this industry yet. And it's hard to navigate people who don't know what they don't know. But I also, unfortunately, not at this altitude, I don't have the time to teach you. I can't teach you that you're not supposed to say that to somebody, even if it was the right thing to say. You can't say that at this time to that person, or you can't say it that way. Or you can't move like this on set when you're saying so. There was a young girl on set when I was shooting my Comedy Central pilot. Ali Sadiq was one of the characters.
Feature. Wasn't he your feature at the time?
No, he on the sitcom. He co-starred with me on the sitcom. Ali and I were always kind of like running neck and neck. Like we would like bump into each other here and there. But I can't say he featured for me on a regular or anything like that. I'm sure we're on some shows here and there.
Anyway.
I'm sure it's possible on some random Comedy Zone Wednesday night, Beaumont, Texas in 02 or something. But Ali Sadiq is on set. It's Ramadan. All I know about Ramadan, if I'm not mistaken, you can't eat shit, you can't drink shit, you can't do nothing. And it was an exterior, it was hot, and this PA just keeps trying to offer him water. And she won't fucking stop. And he's polite and keeps saying no. But she's in that southern, we're shooting in Alabama. She's from Alabama. So it's that, baby, I would just feel better if you, well, you ain't go. And it just got to a point where she was getting indignant with this man. And he had to pull her to the side and was like, yo. And God bless Ali for being kind to the girl, because he could have ran her up the fucking flagpole. And you do that shit on the wrong set with the wrong actor, you're done. That's also the same set where the sound guy lost all the audio from the day. And I can't remember what he said, but something along the lines of, I got you on the next one, I promise. I'll do it for half price. And, hey, God bless him, he was apologetic, but there is no scenario where I can, this is literally, at that time, my life's work. And you f***ed us. Whether it was on purpose or not, we shot for 12 hours and did not have a fucking syllable. Now, there's layers of who didn't double check whatever the fuck. But it wasn't a whole day. It was 7 pages, which is a lot. It's damn near the whole day. I can't hire him again. And I can't put you in a position like that to prove again. Because if you put this on the resume, they're going to call people. You put this, the next job you work, and I can't, like, you can't put my phone number down because I wasn't your department head.
You know what's interesting about what you're saying is, like, this is fantastic for the comedy business, if you'll just oblige me for a second. Because a lot of people don't understand that, you know, like, for instance, athletes, the greatest athletes in the world, you know, LeBron James, he, you know, fails 50% of the time. You know, the greatest baseball players in the world fail 7 out of 10 times. Yeah. But if you're in this industry and you're working with somebody like Roy or anybody, and you fail one time, it's over. Meanwhile, you know, my son Zion, he's 19, he's a record producer. He can make 999 beats that fail, and one beat succeeds, and like Still Dre, and it's mailbox money his whole life.
Yeah.
So, but in the entertainment, like if you're an assistant for Roy, or if you're an assistant at CAA, there's a line of people around the corner who want to work with you, so you can't make mistakes. But I think what's interesting for the audience, and what I wanted to ask you was, is there a time in your career where you fucked up badly and you convinced them to give you a second chance, and then you came back and scored big? Like where you wouldn't give this guy a second chance, but in your career where you fought back to get that second chance and it paid off.
Sullivan Son, TBS 2013.
Now, Sullivan and Sons, for those of you who don't know, this is a TBS sitcom that was based around Steve Byrne, comedian Steve Byrne, and Vince Vaughn was a producer on the show.
Yeah. So nobody wanted me for that show but Steve Byrne at the time. And I say that with respect to Vince Vaughn, and with respect to Peter Billingsley, and with respect to everybody at f***ing TBS on the casting side. I was nobody's first choice, which is the norm in my career. I'm almost never anybody's first choice. I go into the audition. I thought I did all right. They didn't like me. Steve Byrne puts me down on the callback sheet anyway. I walk into the second audition. Motherfuckers is looking at me like they seen a ghost. What are you doing here? And I do pretty good.
Did he work with you before the second one? Like a lot of times, so for those of you who don't know, if, you know, I'll just give you an experience of mine, and then I don't lose your place.
Yeah.
When I was an executive producer on Whitney Cummings' show, Whitney, with Chris D'Elia, and she loved Chris and wanted him on the show, and she, when he went in and admittedly, he would say, if he were sitting here, didn't really do as well as he could have done, and people didn't necessarily want him for the role as much as she did after that first thing. She spent hours with him, but didn't tell anybody, prepared him so he could be the best he could be and address the concerns. Did Steve do that with you?
Yes, he did.
All right. That's what comedians do who care about each other.
Steve Byrne, he don't even understand what that did for the rest of the change in trajectory of my career. I eat the first audition, second audition, pretty damn good. But now they want me back for a third one to make sure. Because it's literally, and knowing what I know now about casting, it was Steve Byrne versus everybody. And there's a million other names they could have picked who already had. I had not done shit but stand-up on TV. I'd never been cast in anything. Not a single line. Yeah. I'd already left LA and went back to Birmingham to do radio, bro. I was done. I'm going to be a road guy. I'm going to get that Bruce Lavelle Crawford arc and just pick 30 cities, dominate them bitches until I'm 65. Steve Byrne keeps fighting. I go back in the third audition.
Now, before you say this, I don't mean that, because I think this is important for the audience. What Roy said is he hadn't done anything. He hadn't done the line on anything. So what has to happen, using another metaphor with Whitney Cummings, Beth Bears on Two Broke Girls, the blonde girl, she had maybe booked one role. It didn't even have a name to it. It was like a waitress on something or whatever.
Yeah.
She came in, and again, nobody really wants somebody when they don't have the experience. They'd rather hire somebody that's a little bit, maybe they're not as good, maybe they're not the same type, but they have 300 hours of television.
Yeah.
But the way you change the listening, if you don't mind me saying it that way, is you go in and you f*** people up. You go in and you create a f***ing problem. And for anybody listening, that's what you have to do. You have to walk into the room. It's like the Hunger Games. You don't know what everybody else has done. You don't know who's out there trying to kill you. But all you know is you got to survive with your instincts, and you got to be 10 times better than everybody else to beat the people who have more experience than you. And that's what this man did, obviously, because the third time also what they want you to do.
No, you're right.
They want you to go in. This is what comedians, this is the hardest instinct to change in the room, in the acting room. Comedians who go from show to show, a lot of times they want to do something different. They don't want to change stuff up. They want to do whatever. They think, okay, I already went in and did that. Let me try it a different way. That's not what they want. They want you to come in and they want to know that you can do it the same way. So when they say cut, okay, do it again from this angle. Cut, do it again from this angle. Or they want you to take direction. Hey, listen, could you do that a little more anger this time? And they want to know you can take the direction as well as your talent. So keep going with the story. I'm sorry.
So I go in, third audition, kill it. I booked the pilot for Sullivan and Son. There's a table read.
Do you remember who you tested against?
In that scene, it was comedian Ahmed and Byrne, which was also very easy because I already knew Ahmed I'd been in LA since 2007. It's 2013. All I've booked is stand-up appearances, which is fine, but that's not why you moved to LA. I could book Conan from Birmingham. I could book, in those days, Craig Ferguson from Birmingham.
Do you remember who was in the, because again, I want to explain to the audience. So what Roy had to do, unless it's a totally different thing for the show, which I doubt, is he has to do a test deal for this show. What they want him to do is they want him to sign a 6.5 year contract. So if he does get it and they don't have a contract, he doesn't say, hey, I want more money. And so he, as well as at least 2 other people, sometimes 4 other people, have signed another deal with different amounts of money that their managers or agents got to them. What's going to happen for him, because he's an unknown quantity, they're going to try to lowball his manager and his agent and make it the least amount of money for him.
It was the least.
And then the person who has 300 episodes of television, their quotes are higher, they get whatever. But still, there's 3 to 5 people who test that day, who are in a waiting room, sign the deal. Normally, the studio brings you in first for the first day, and then they cut some people loose, and then you go to the network the second day. And so he has to go through the first cut of things for the studio, and he's sitting in a waiting room somewhere with all these other actors who you haven't said who they are. Maybe you don't want to say who they are.
No, I don't. They kept us sequestered.
Oh, they did. That's very unusual. Okay, and so
ABC did not do that with the Jermaine Fowler thing. I did with Whoopi, but keep going.
And so also what Roy has the least control over, if Steve's the only one that wants him, is his spot. And the first spot, there's 2 schools of thought here. The first spot can be the best spot if you really are the strongest and whatever, because then you set the tone, and then everybody coming in after you has to beat you. The person's already said the lines. Everybody's heard the lines.
Yeah, we know the joke's coming.
However, the last spot is the hardest spot, but if you can crush it on the last spot after everybody's done their thing and bring your thing to it, then in great shape.
Yeah.
When did you go on out of the people? How many?
Third. Third.
Out of how many?
I think it was 4, maybe 5.
Okay, so they put you in the middle.
Yeah. And so I think to Steve Byrne's credit, he was just trying to like, don't go first, get your nerves about you or whatever. But, I still had to give credit, Vince Vaughn, Peter Billingsley, all of them, when the dust settled, they were all cool. Now, that's all backstory to answer the question. I get cast on this show where I had to fight and fucking claw to get the role. I booked the role the day of the table read, which is the first day that we're going to say these words out loud in front of all the important motherfuckers in the room. I am on the tarmac at LAX because my greedy ass went to go do a college in Massachusetts the day before. Table read was 10:30 Burbank. There was a 5:30 JetBlue out of Boston that would land at LAX at 8:43. My calculations, if I left my bags at baggage claim and did not get them, I could be in a cab by 9:30, no later than 9:45. That puts me at the Burbank lot at 10:25. And our comedians, we live to the minute. We land, our gates occupied. 45 minutes on the tarmac. I'm late to the table read of the show that nobody wanted me on to start. That was my first impression with everyone associated with the production of Sullivan and Son. It's a 60-page script. I walk in somewhere around page 40. And I don't have a line to like page 45. I know the script front to back. As I'm sitting down and my line is coming up, I fucking nail it. Showed up late, damn near got an applause break on my fucking line. Did the rest of the table read without looking at my script. And I think the fact that I was off book, it gave me the ability to act more in the room instead of just reading the jokes. And to this day, I'm convinced it is the only thing that saved my job, because at the table read, you are not safe. There are actors that get recast after the table read because they just, you were good in the audition, but we didn't feel the chemistry in the room. And that's where all the suits are. All the motherfuckers who are going to be spending money on this show are sitting there and they're going, who the fuck is this Negro walking in 40 pages into the fucking table read? Who the fuck does he think he is? I was 9th on a 10-man call sheet, bro. I have no business. But I fucking needed that college bread. What do you want me to do?
Just to let you know this and the audience. When I was working with Dane Cook, he booked the pilot. And the table read, he got to the lot. The person at the gate, or else the agent or whatever, gave him the assistant gave him the wrong building at the time or whatever. So he's running around trying to find the place, and he's late to the table read, and they fired him after that table read because he was late. And secondly, on the point that you mentioned, that and for everybody, how table reads are not guaranteed, just a point of history here for those of you who don't know. Ray Romano booked his first acting job ever. He booked the role of the handyman on news radio. And he got to the table read, did the table read, and they fired him after the table read, which launched another comedian's career, Joe Rogan, who got recast in that show. But also, bad things that happen often can be turned around, and the next show Ray got was Everybody Loves Raymond, and it worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, none of this shit is safe. I was so embarrassed, bro. I didn't speak to anyone for like five weeks because of pilot, and we got picked up, and then when we came back to actually start shooting the episodes, I was still just I was so embarrassed. It was 2012, 2013. Yeah, 2012. I'm still embarrassed, but like I couldn't even fathom that. I couldn't even, the shows and scripts that I've sold now, and what goes into pouring your soul into something and being in a room collectively with other people who are all trying to help this vision come together, and your ass was on a tarmac
If you were the showrunner of that show, would you have fired you?
Of that show, yes. Because I was cheap. I wasn't a key character, not in season 1. It's easily replaceable.
Have you, in any of your productions, ever had to fire somebody, and how did you handle it, and with grace and dignity, and afterwards, did you feel like you made the right move, or did you feel shitty about it?
I felt like I made the right move. I felt shitty about it still. But but that, now we're getting into therapy land where talking to therapists and I know I'm anxious avoidant, so I don't like conflict. And so now to combat it, I run head first into whatever it is that needs to be done. But it's made me very robotic and emotionally detached from tough conversations, which makes me feel clinical and like I don't care about you. I do, but I don't have time to plug into the emotion. At a producer on a podcast that I was doing, we weren't driving. It wasn't a bad person. I just didn't like the edits. And so then I was cleaning up the edits on the backside of things. And it's just, well, do I do it myself? Do I find somebody else? Can I coach them through it? And I just think some of it was just the idea. And then sometimes I wonder if whether or not I'm even being fair, because I'm also 12 years of morning radio. I listen differently. I can hear the cuts in the conversation where minute 3 merges perfectly with minute 5. Why are these 2 minutes here? And why do I have to tell you that? And I didn't even know how to teach it, because then I realized I was never really formally taught that. It's just something you develop over time. I worked with great DJs, and they showed me, and you just pick it up instinctively. So yeah, I had to do it. There's people I would have fired had I known what was going on my sets. I've been told stories of disrespect that happened between people in lesser departments. And those things are never brought to me because people feel like they're protecting me from those decisions because I have to worry about other stuff. I don't like that. But I've also been told I try to do too much and I try to have my hands in every pot, and you can't do that either. But if I got a cameraman that's sonning my director and he's the director, that's a problem. But also, are you going to fire the cameraman the day before the shoot? Or are you going to find another cameraman? You're in the middle of nowhere. So how do you handle that part of it? And that's the stuff for which there's no training, there's no preparation. They don't do to get you ready for this level of the game.
And obviously when you're doing your own projects, you want to be an executive producer on the television show along with the other executive producers, so you have a vote on what's happening and you're a part of the process.
Yeah.
But with being an executive producer comes a lot of distractions away from the on-camera stuff. Could you tell the audience, even though you always want to be an executive producer on your shows and you never don't want to be, could you let the audience know how difficult it is to balance the on-camera with the decision-making process and everything that comes with it?
So my Comedy Central pilot, which I co-created, wrote, and starred in, I was also, executive producer. And we were in a situation where one of the other EPs, who was kind of the creative brain trust of it, wasn't able to make it down for the shoot for, conflicts and, whatever it was. He wasn't there.
Was he in Boston doing a college?
Stuck on a fucking tarmac for $4,000. I almost fucked my whole career for $4,000 at UMass Amherst. No disrespect.
The
to
Blue
Amherst.
Wall is a great place, man.
Great place.
I used to book that room when I was in New England a long time ago. It's one of the greatest college gigs in the history of the country.
It's gravy, bro. It's gravy. That one and Kentucky Wildcats, they got a good one over at their student union that's been going on forever. So he's not there. I did not know this, but over the course of a 5-day shoot, as they're setting up pre-production for the next day, someone has to sign off on, hey, tomorrow's set's going to look like this. Tomorrow's person is going to wear this. Tomorrow's person has to do this. What do you think of these 4 outfits for this character tomorrow? Bitch, I got lines to learn now. Wait, what? We didn't get any of the fucking audio for today? Okay, well, let's go. Well, can we shoot more? Well, if we shoot more, it's going to be overtime, and it'll be cheaper to do ADR than have crew overtime on set for an exterior. And also, we're losing light, so the shots aren't going to match what we had. So maybe we shoot this half a page. Like, literally war room conversations. I remember one thing that happened.
Hey, everybody. It's Barry Katz, and I wanted to talk to you about Blueprint for Success. This is a community that I put together during the pandemic to help all artists of every walk of life in the entertainment business. No matter where you are in that part of this journey, it's designed to help you. There are podcasts with people that will inspire you, like Kevin Hart, Judd Apatow, Bill Burr, that you can't find anywhere else but on this program that I've interviewed, to times where we get to talk to executives in the business that you would never have access to tell you what you need to hear and to answer your questions, to all sorts of different videos and master classes designed to help you get to the promised land. That's what the Blueprint for Success is. Doesn't matter whether you want to be a stand-up comedian, a sketch performer, a podcaster, an actor, an actress, director, writer, social media person, whatever you want to be. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've had the honor and been humbled to represent people like Chappelle, Wanda Sykes, Louis C.K., Dane Cook, and probably over 20 other people who went from a studio apartment to being a multi-millionaire and a household name. And I want that for you. And I wanted to take the time with this program to be able to help you on your way there, to get there and to heighten and increase the trajectory of your career. Blueprint for Success is the way to go. I'm proud to be a part of this program, and I'd be proud to have you to be a part of it too.
I guess I can say this. It doesn't matter. Comedy Central, whoever you're going to sue, they're not there anymore. There was a fire I had to put out in the middle of the production because either the kid's mom lied or casting did not pay attention. But we had accidentally cast someone under the age of 18 for a role. The role was for someone that's 18 or whatever, and kid looks 16. The kid legally is 16. Well, look 18 to me. But when it came time to do the paperwork and get it signed off, big red flag, because hiring a minor comes with a degree of all types of week-longs of you paperwork that has to happen, and tutors, and you got to fly 2 other motherfuckers to make sure that the kid's not doing other shit. So it's an added expense that was not in the budget. It literally was not in the budget. And when I shot Jefferson County Probation, we shot in the state of Alabama, and I did as best I could to hire Alabama-based actors so that they could see some degree of what the life could be. This kid lived down in Mobile. Imagine you 16 years old and you've just been told you cast in a Roy Wood Jr. show, which I'm not here to brag about myself, but in my state, I am seen as one of the people who made it over there. So, man, if I can get with him, then maybe I can get over there. And then someone has to call this child and tell him that that dream is not going to happen because of fucking red tape and budget. And so I didn't want casting to make that call. So I made the call personally. Held up production for 30 minutes to call this kid. And God is my witness. I'm going to put him in something.
I know you are. It goes back to what we talked about.
Only
before.
sold 3 scripts since then. None of it went to pilot. So I ain't had a chance yet, little motherfucker. But
Listen,
God is my witness. I'm going back to Mobile and I'm getting that fucking kid. So as soon as but you can't carry that emotion because you got 5 pages to fucking put on camera. And as soon as I hang up with the kid, somebody's in my face going, here's the 5 replacements for the kid. I need you to watch these audition tapes. Watch these audition tapes while we change the camera lenses and let me know which person you want to call tomorrow to make their dream come true. Okay, and action. That's what producing and acting. It's chaos.
how much did it affect your performances on camera?
That day a little bit. And that's what I mean. Like, you almost, if you're not careful to be really good at this, you're a robot. To be efficient, you have to be a robot. To be human, you have to feel. So, you know, I choose human for now. So it sucks a little bit because that's still in the back. We're talking about it now. That was 2018 when I shot that sitcom. And I still think about like that because I think about the shit that I didn't get. I think about how close I've gotten to particular roles or particular things. Man, if I'd have done that one thing, then it would have been different. If I'd have done that thing, man, it would have been different. Man, I almost got that thing that one time. I thought about that with that Jermaine Fowler, Whoopi Goldberg sitcom we did for ABC. I played Jermaine Fowler's father, which is hilarious because we're only like 7 years apart. I think I'm maybe like 8 years older than Jermaine. But at that time, I was like 70 pounds heavier than Jermaine. And we shot that. We shot a pilot for ABC. Myself, Jermaine Fowler, Whoopi Goldberg, and it did not go. And like I was just gutted because Sullivan and Son came and went for 3 seasons. TBS had to change over. They canceled everything but Conan. And then 2014, I was adrift. I was just doing ESPN shows to keep the lights on and doing colleges or whatever. And I booked that ABC show to book a role, and then the pilot is fucking immaculate. And it didn't go. It didn't go. And then 4 months later, I booked The Daily Show. So it's just life be like that, you know? And I couldn't have gotten Daily Show if that sitcom had went. Supposedly, I don't know if this is true, but supposedly it's because Whoopi was still negotiating her View hosting contract. And so the negotiations for one thing just took longer, and we're not going to give you a sitcom if you're not on The View. Well, let's figure out the View contract. All right, well, fuck it then. Fuck that sitcom. Like, I don't know if that's all true, but that felt like it's the story you tell yourself to make believe that it's not your fault so that you don't carry it as much. And I think that's part of why I think about that kid in Mobile so much. Is that I had to talk to him personally so he knows this is not your fault. It's your mom should have 2 years sooner. You'd have been here.
But what you're saying to the audience is fantastic, is that kid in Alabama and you know, it's like everybody needs to know that when something really shitty happens, you can't believe what's around the corner. And there's great stuff around the corner. There's this business, this comedy business, entertainment, is littered with stories like Roy's where you get the shit kicked out of you and then the next thing happens. I remember Jay Moore getting the extensions on Saturday Night Live from Lorne. You know, every month we want to extend. We don't know who we're going to cast yet. And each time Jay would say, you know, Barry, I don't really want to go through this. I said, please just hang in. It's okay. 3 extensions. By the 4th extension, Jay said, listen, Barry, I don't care what you say. I'm not doing it. I'm not signing this extension. And I said, well, are you prepared that you could lose SNL? He said, yes, I'm prepared. It's okay. I believe in myself. And if he wants me, he'll hire me. And a month later, he got Jerry Maguire. So, you know, these things happen. The Daily Show. In my
Same thing.
in my opinion, it's odd because for you with the Daily Show, this is a really interesting thing because every artist really obviously loves to act. They love to be on a set with people. They love to have a chance to launch themselves as a lead or even a character on a show and take control of their own career that way through scripts to show that they can exercise that other muscle. And normally, like a show like The Daily Show and a correspondent job, normally it could be argued in the scheme of entertainment is not anywhere near as prestigious as it is to act in a show with Whoopi Goldberg and an Academy Award winner. However, where The Daily Show is it's this incredible thing where it's even more of a rocket ship launch pad if you can figure out how to use that muscle in a way that scores. And that's another thing before we go on is that I want to share with the audiences with you is like, you got the acting job, you really weren't an actor. Technically speaking, on paper, you weren't an actor.
Took some classes, but I hadn't done
You got the Daily Show. How many times in your life had you done a correspondent piece?
Zero. Zero. I mean, I have a degree in broadcast, but comedically, like what I was hired to do, no. I'd auditioned for Daily Show in like 08, 09, didn't get it. The only thing, what's really weird is that 2014 year when I was doing everything on ESPN, like Sports Nation, Jamel Hill would put me on their podcast with Michael Smith, Bomani Jones. Like, this is like when ESPN used to regularly have comedians on the show just as a regular guest. How do you feel about the whatever the And I would prepare bits and think about my segments a week ahead of time and all of that. That's probably the closest to a Daily Show-ish minor league ball version. But even that's not politics. Sports is a different comedic discipline from politics. But no, I wasn't, that's Trevor Noah, that's Neil Brennan recommending me. And then Trevor Noah and the producers going, all right, well, let's see if he doesn't crash the car. But there's nothing that's, like, I didn't come from CNN Tonight or doing segments with Bill Maher or Don Lemon before that. Like, to know that I had some comedic political satire muscle, no, there was nothing within my stand-up that would have suggested, like, I wasn't Lewis Black with it. I had a couple of race jokes and stuff like that, but like legitimate opinions about the administration, nah. But you get the opportunities, and then you start taking everything that you've been given up until that point, and then you pour that into whatever it is you're doing now, and then that's when you start realizing everything you had done was to prepare you for the thing you're doing next. So, where it's like the fear I felt when I quit radio in 2007 to move to LA, to not really popping in LA and going back home just as I booked Sullivan and Son to go back to LA and then start doing the sports stuff in LA, only to realize the sports stuff was preparing me for Daily Show. And so it's interesting now because Daily Show, especially under Trevor, I didn't work under John in the first John administration. We're in John Pope 2. But I know under Trevor there was far more sketches and skits and pre-written content that we did. And, it's nothing like the SNL how to make a comedic sketch art comedy school that the 30 Rock folks get to go through. But that definitely, what we were doing there at Daily Show under Trevor, that definitely set up some of the arcs and ideologies for how I shape scripted shows that I've sold since that time. It changed my stand-up. So that show definitely ushered in a new comedic mindset. It changed my relationship with the audience. And I think the biggest difference between The Daily Show and most other shows, like if you're talking about other shows that are like this great for pedigree and skill set, okay, cool. But I think where The Daily Show really shines is that no matter when you leave that show, you carry with you the reputation and relationship you have built with the audience. People still talk to me like I'm on the show, but it's really no different than radio. I'm in your home every single night. And so I think that familiarity gives you the ability to be able to go somewhere else with the trust and feeling that people are going to at least check it out to see what you're doing, because we know and love you, from the thing. I've told people the biggest difference between being on a funny show and being on The Daily Show is that when people recognize you from The Daily Show, they tell you thank you, which is a different type of compliment, whether it's earned or not, or whether you think comedy can change every sadness. It still establishes that how you see me it's different, bro. It's deeper. It's way different than somebody go, yeah, you was funny on that, man. I see you did your thing. All right, see you later. Versus, thank you.
Incredible. I want to go way back for a few minutes.
Okay.
Just take us back to the household where you grew up, the socioeconomic dynamic, and what was your first inspiration to getting into this crazy fucked up business?
First inspiration was Sinbad primarily. Sinbad and Rondell Sheridan were the first two comedians.
Rondell Sheridan. Wow. With the sign bit? Did you see the sign bit?
Yeah, Rondell Sheridan had a joke about when dads give kids meat off the grill when it's too hot, because kids are always begging for a hot dog. Can I have a hot dog? Yeah. How's it taste? I don't know. Like, I'm butchering the bit, but and then once a year, HBO would have their free preview weekend, and that would usually be a George Carlin or a Comics Relief special. So that was that. Comedy Central came along not too long after that. So they would show a ton of stand-up. Like, Comedy Central was just stand-up for years.
How old were you when you were watching this stuff?
12, 13.
Okay.
I was born in 78, so whatever the math is, I know it was about freshman year of high school, so 92, somewhere in there. Lower middle class, like, we had groceries. If the lights were off, it's because my parents were arguing. So, but we had roaches and rats. So it's like a weird thing. It's like, we had rats, but when people talk about eating cereal for dinner, it never got to that. But we weren't in a good neighborhood. I was 2 doors down from a crack house, like an active. Well, in those days, there were like places where people went to do drugs, and there was houses where people went to buy drugs. And this was like a drug buy type of house. But, west side of Birmingham, there were gangs. Gangs, it was shootings, but I played in my yard for the most part. If you never leave your house, it was very easy to not see a lot of that. My parents kept me busy, so I walked. I used to go through 5 Points West. You have to walk through the South Park projects to go to the 5 Points Library to take computer classes, and so I learned computer literacy, keyboarding, swim, baseball, boys club, Boy Scouts, church choir, like just activity after activity. I had a basketball goal in our yard, which kept me from going up the street to Powderly Park, which is where all of the bullets would fly. So my mom figured out a way to just kind of create a little bit of community there. My dad was a radio news journalist, and so he's civil rights era. And so my father was, a radio news guy. Like, he covered African civil wars, and he was in Vietnam embedded with black soldiers. Like, just wherever dangerous shit was, that's the news he reported on. So he came up through the civil rights movement, covered all of that. And so, he was in Birmingham, and he was like a righteous political commentator type. My mother's been in higher education her entire life. She was a school teacher for a while, but then, as she said to me, I'd rather teach college students because the parents don't get in the way. It just,
Wow.
yeah,
And so,
interesting.
and how did it come about for you to get on stage for the first time?
To get on stage, it wasn't until college, bro. Like, I wanted to do comedy so f***ing bad in high school, but it wasn't until high school that I fit in. We moved to Birmingham when I was in the 3rd grade. I was never in the same school district for more than 2 years until high school. So it was a constant cycle of just making friends again. And just because my mom was trying to put me in gifted programs. And so in public schools in Birmingham, there's usually only one school within the system for smart kids. So you have to get bussed the fuck out over there for an hour each way, whatever. So when I got to high school, I just fit in. So I'm like, I'm not fucking this up. I'm on the baseball team. I got a girlfriend. I'm not going to do comedy. And then I get to college. I get arrested in college. Well, it's 2 things. In journalism, you take a public speaking class. In the public speaking class and the voice and diction class, they're offered through the theater department. So to take voice and diction, you have to go to theater. So you get the theater students. So by proxy, I'm kind of like, oh, this is, performance. I kind of like, and you literally are taking the class is literally on a stage. It's on the stage in the Charles Winterwood Theater. It's at Florida A&M. So that was the first little hit of the dope, was public speaking class, voice and diction class, because I would get laughs. And then when I got arrested, I stole some credit cards my junior year, and I figured I'd be going to prison, which on paper I should have. I go, all right, well, let me do stand-up then. Let me finally do this. If I'm going to go to prison where my life will end, then let me just the idea that my life will conclude. And like, I got arrested the night before Thanksgiving when I was 18. I got sentenced in January. I got suspended from school. No, I took a plea in January. When you take the plea, because of the student code of conduct, it kicks in an automatic suspension from school. My sentencing wasn't until June. I took a plea, let's just say Martin Luther King weekend. I get suspended from school the following week. And then the next week, I get a financial aid check for $7,000 to pay for classes that I no longer have to go to. And I'm going to prison in June. And I'm 19, I have $7,000. My expenses for the month was $330. Rent and cell phone total, and my share of the cable and lights was $330. And I have $7,000 goddamn dollars in my pocket. It's like Brewster's Millions, bro. And I just started doing stand-up. And I took the money and I started doing open mics anywhere I could find in the South. For the most part in the South in the 90s. With the exception of Atlanta and Coconuts Comedy Club in St. Pete Beach, open mic was monthly. No other cities had weekly open mics that I could find other than Tampa and Atlanta. St. Petersburg, same difference. So I go to Memphis, do an open mic, take the Greyhound back to Tallahassee, work at Golden Corral 3 days. Tuesday through Thursday, I work at Golden Corral. Thursday night, I'm on the dog until Monday. And I'm just, however I can lay out the days, sleep at the bus station, sleep in hotels. If I could have, I'd throw $30 at a hotel if I could. But anywhere I could go on a bus and tell a joke to strangers, I went. And then June comes and I get probation instead of prison. And I'm like, oh, And I said to the judge, because it's all that legal jargon, and you're in there with a court-appointed attorney, and Mr. Wood, we sentenced you to 5 years in federal prison, suspended on the 5 years probation supervised with a fine of $1,500, and you will surrender your gun permit if you have a gun, and you will just report to the Leon County Probation Office. And I'm trying to understand whether or not I'm going to prison. And I go, does this mean I can keep doing comedy? And he goes, you can do any comedy you want, Mr. Wood, for as long as it's not at a post office or a Dillard's. And I was like, bet. And I ran out of that courtroom so fucking happy, man. I was so fucking happy. And I've been doing stand-up ever since. And I still had like 3 G's of the money left. So that fall, I'm back in school. I get reinstated back in school. I put all of my classes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so I could get on the Greyhound and go do the shows. And that following year, I do an open mic in Birmingham, and I don't want my mom to know. My mom knows none of this is happening at the time. And one of my mom's students sees me sleeping in the bus station and snitches on me. And my mom calls me hysterical, and what are you doing? And the deal we made was, so long as I am on the dean's list, because you almost went to prison. You sleeping in a bus station. What are you doing? If I make dean's list, leave me the alone. I didn't say it like that, but like, if my grades are solid, we have to make a deal to not talk about anything else that I do. She said, deal. I made dean's list for the next year. My mom bought me a car so I could quit sleeping at the bus station. And she puts a down payment on a Ford Focus, and that car that my mom paid down for, and my first Dell Inspiron 8100 laptop, which I still own to this day. It doesn't work anymore, but those two things were so pivotal in changing the reach of my career. I worked hard for that laptop. That was like $50 a month for like 3-4 years to pay off that laptop. Like a ridiculous APR, but it changed everything, man. Having that car meant that I could now drive 8 hours instead of being Tallahassee to Atlanta is 8 hours on the dog, but with a car, now I can go to Charlotte. Now I can go to Raleigh-Durham. Now I can go to Little Rock and still be back on campus in time for classes Monday night. So that was the early days of all of it. And then when I graduated, I essentially had no choice but to keep doing stand-up because I turned down every journalism internship because none of the internships will let you travel. I don't want to be in Atlanta at CNN and learn reel-to-reel editing. Back in those days, Super VHS, Media 100, it was just transitioning from tape to digital in 2000, 2001. I don't want to do that. I want to do comedy. So that's what I did.
1,
2,
3,
4, 5, 6.
6 degrees of separation.
Awesome. All right, 6 degrees of separation. This is like a speed round for you, okay? I'm going to mention some names. Just say whatever comes to mind. We'll go to the next one, okay? Dave Chappelle.
Brilliant.
Felipe Esparza.
Taught me friendship.
Kevin Hart. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you a story about Felipe later.
No, you can tell it now.
No, we'll finish speed round. I'll tell you the Felipe story.
You sure? Because it'll go in here perfectly.
Okay. So, Last Comic Standing tour, when the tour first started, we were all we weren't dickish to Felipe, but we weren't friendly because we were bitter we had lost to Felipe. The Last Comic Standing, I lost Felipe. I came in third place the year Felipe won. It's myself, Tommy Jonigan, Mike Kaplan, Mike DiStefano, and Felipe. And they have the finale for Last Comic Standing. You were there.
I was the executive producer.
Okay, so then you know what you did to us. Y'all,
I was one of the executive producers.
Y'all have this finale, and literally the next day we're on a bus to start an 80-city tour. We didn't get like the 3 days we needed to breathe and get away from each other. So we were just so tense from losing. And now you're on the bus with the winner. And it's 9-hour bus rides every day. And man, like the first week of the tour, we're just all kind of sitting in our own little pockets and not really talking. We're not rude, but we're not like bonding in the least. And Felipe would just get off the bus. We'd go to the venue for sound check. Felipe would do sound check. He'd go smoke a bowl. Then he'd just chill on the bus till it was time for him to go on stage. And I remember about a week into the tour, we had this bus driver, and Felipe just comes on the bus, just very unassuming, and hands him a NASCAR jacket he'd bought him. Found out the guy was a NASCAR fan because Felipe was the only one even talking to the driver. And I was like, oh yeah, be a human. It's not all, we're on tour. Enjoy this, dummy. And one of us bought some Marvel video game. And I found out Felipe was in the video games. There was an Xbox in the back of the bus. Next thing you know, we're all playing video games and we were cool as But it was like, because comedy is such a solo sport and you're so angry and it's me versus you. And then this guy that you're like, well, my jokes are better than him. Oh, damn, he's a nice dude. And the fact that I was on TV for 2 months is the real win. And the fact that we're on tour building fans, this is the win. The win is exposure. It was never, it's the last time I ever did competition comedy, but I finally understood it in that moment that this was just about finding the people who like you. And it's like, how could you be mad at someone who's that kind and that warm to people? And I'm embarrassed about, how I carried myself.
You turned it around.
I'm man enough to admit it, but, me and Felipe, we tight work to this day. I saw him at the Netflix brunch, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg.
The most talented.
John Mulaney.
Warm. His audience is warm, too. They be wanting to hug you and after the show.
Cedric the Entertainer.
Joy.
Amy Schumer.
Hardworking.
Steve Byrne.
That's a real friend. A real friend in this industry where you don't have many.
Tracy Morgan.
Chaos. In a good way, with chaos.
Deaf Comedy Jam.
Well, Obi-Wan. Let me say chaotic Obi-Wan. That's what Tracy is. Def Comedy Jam, institution.
Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, man. Layers. Layers upon layers.
Jermaine Fowler.
Ooh. Inspiring.
Trevor Noah.
Cool.
Kevin Hart.
Conquering. I don't know why conquering is the first word that comes to mind. It's always like doing something first, Kevin.
Last 3 questions. Your proudest moment in show business.
Having my mom present at the White House Correspondent dinner.
Where you hosted.
Where I hosted. My mama don't come to much. Most of my meaningful happens during the school year. She's just got college to deal with. She came to that show. And like that's... Because like growing up, my mom never came to anything. Like sporting events or like just... She was always getting another degree to help make the money, to help keep the lights on, to help keep the roaches out the house. So...
Tell our audience what it was like after the dinner the first time she saw you, and what did she say to you after your performance?
We had talked before the show. We talked before my performance about whether or not we were 30 minutes from a Cracker Barrel and whether or not we were going to go to Cracker Barrel in the morning. So when I saw her after the show, she just comes up and she just goes, "We ain't going to no damn Cracker Barrel. You finna go drink." I was like, "Yeah, you're right, Mom. I'm going to go enjoy this one. Yeah, that one's pretty cool because I got to shout out her. I got to shout out my pops. My mom is very low-key about the contribution she's made to help better our people, especially in the state of Mississippi. So it was cool to kind of put the light on her.
Awesome. Your biggest disappointment in show business and how you used it to fuel yourself to the next level.
And I mean, you say all of that, and like in my head, I'm just thinking, well, what were the failures? What were the things that I wish I could have done better, or wish I'd have taken more serious? That first Showtime at the Apollo I did in 2002, where I almost got booed. That's a set I wish I could have back because I know what to do with that one now.
How'd you come back from that?
I got Comic View the next year. The Showtime at the Apollo thing hurt because, you're from Birmingham. A lot of people don't get on from Birmingham. And then I was still doing morning radio, so people were calling and heckling me. Like, Birmingham, the only city, like people talk about making it in New York, man. You make it about the South because the South holds their performers to a higher standard because not many people from the South get an opportunity on a national scale. So if you go out and you don't represent, we're going to call the radio station to say something to you about it.
Got it. Last question. What advice do you have for the young performer who's growing up in a rough area, doesn't have a lot of money, doesn't necessarily have the full support of everybody in the family because they're working so much to try to keep the lights on and the roaches out of the place, and to fight through it all and to have the kind of extraordinary career that you're having?
Use the camera to share your experiences, and you'll find out that you're not alone in those experiences. Audience is power right now. I don't know for how much longer that'll be the case, but if you have audience, people will come and find you. Do not, above all things, there's your regret. I kept too many negative people in my circle for too long. I kept a lot of people in my circle who deep down, even if they didn't hate me, they didn't support me. And I suffered because of that. Career choices because of that. Relationship choices even too, to a degree. So that kind of ties right into the advice in that do not keep negative people in your life. Even if they're family. F them. The best you can do if you can't get them out of your life, don't share your dreams with them because they're scared of their own dreams and they're going to shit on yours and they're going to make you seem like your dream is too big, and then you're going to shrink yourself to please somebody who's never going to go after their own dreams. You get those people out of your way and then follow and interact as best you can. If we're talking about people in the hood or people that just don't have the coastal resources, I guarantee you it's somebody in your town that's got a dream that's adjacent to yours. Find that motherfucker and create together and grow. You ain't got a camera, find a motherfucker with a camera. Some motherfucker in your town with a camera who really want to shoot funny stuff. He ain't got no comedians. He don't have no actors. So find those people, and through that, you'll find a community that'll support you. I didn't work hard enough at finding community. If we're talking career regrets, my biggest mistake was not looking at where, and I say mistake in the sense of not to disrespect anything that I've accomplished, because we're in that era now where if you talk negative about yourself, people act like you're not affirming what you've accomplished. Yes, I done aight. But also, I shouldn't have been inheriting the dreams of my predecessors. I should have never been going after Letterman. I should have never been going after being on The Tonight Show. That was not the move. It's a good credit. It's respected, but that was not the move. YouTube was the move. MySpace was the move. Figuring out what's next and what's around the corner and figuring out how to exist there within your skill set before anybody else, that's the move. And you do this other shit to help get industry respect and establish yourself. But when you're thinking ahead of the curve, that's when you get the audience. And to me, audience is as important as your skill set, unfortunately. That's what we are now in the game. So, you know, you hang around. I remember opening for some motherfucker in Columbia, South Carolina, and me and the MC, I'm the feature, me and the MC are just talking about what we're going to do and what he told me he was moving to LA, and we're talking about the move and what are you going to do and what's the plan and how you going to do it and all of that. And this bitter, angry ass nigga looks at both of us and just go, ain't nothing wrong with having dreams, and walked out the room. That's some hoe shit, man. And that's the same type of OG that'll tell you, oh, you just need to do this, this, and this, and then get on Comic View, and then it'll happen. Don't be afraid of technology. Don't be afraid of where tech is going. Where tech is going is where people are going. There's two things people need to do is and laugh. So do one of those on tape. And put it up there.
Roy Wood.
I'm
Jr.
sorry to get angry at the end, bro, but you got me talking, you got me thinking. I'm like, yeah, that's the regret, man, is aligning yourself and believing that your path is exactly the same as the person who got in the door before you. That is the hugest mistake any of you motherfuckers can make, because if you start looking at all the comedians you respect and you start laying all their careers side by side, none of them shit overlap perfectly. None of them shit fit the same. If we're being real, Sebastian Maniscalco is probably the last one through the door of late night being a meaningful career catalyst. And I'm not shitting on late night. I'm just saying the impactfulness of that appearance and it translating to industry opportunity and the gap of time between those two incidents is wider now. Sebastian, that shit was pretty tight. Tommy Johnigan maybe too, but not a lot. I couldn't look no comic in the face right now and tell him, go do Fallon and then tomorrow you will get the sitcom. It ain't 95. Fallon establishes to people that you can do the job and that you are a safe hire. But it does not in any way translate into all of the riches of the people that you respect anymore. Same goes for Colbert. Late night in general. We'll talk about that next time, man.
Roy Wood Jr., this has been unbelievable.
Thank you, man.
You are an extraordinary man. You're an extraordinary artist.
I just don't want no new artist to just think, do what he did, and then no, you're already f***ed. If that's what you're trying to do. The thing that's weird, that nobody's done, that you're not sure about, but you're passionate about, that's the way to do it. Did you know I had 100,000 YouTube followers in 2005? Lost the account. I ain't mad about it, though. Had it, man.
You still have it. Thank you so much for inspiring the audience and inspiring me. And I've known you for a long time, and I've spent very little time with you. But when I saw you in the hallway, it was like I spent every day of my life with you. That's what you bring to people.
Well, thank you, brother.
Thank
Good to see you
so much, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
appreciate it.
Yeah.